In the highest reaches of our planet, where the air is too thin for fire and the silence is so heavy it rings in your ears, there is a legend. For centuries, the nomadic tribes of the Himalayas and the Altai Mountains didn't speak of an animal. They spoke of the Shan. To them, it was not a creature of biology, but a spirit of the stones, a guardian of the peaks that could step into a shadow and vanish. It was a predator that left no trail, a hunter that defied the laws of gravity, and a ghost that watched from the crags, invisible to the naked eye. For generations, local herders would wake to find their livestock missing. In the morning light, there would be no struggle, no blood in the snow, just a single sheep gone from the center of a guarded flock. The elders told stories of a ghost of the mountain that could walk on the wind. They believed that to see a Shan was to receive a message from the divine, or a warning from the earth itself. Scientists from the West dismissed these stories as mountain folklore, the hallucinations of men suffering from altitude sickness. They argued that no large predator could survive for long at 5,000 meters, where the temperature drops to -40 and the oxygen is cut by half. They were wrong. The myth was real. But the reality was even more impossible than the legend. To understand the snow leopard, you must first understand the death zone. At this altitude, the atmosphere is so sparse that a human lung struggles to extract enough life to keep the heart beating. Every step feels like walking through deep water. The cold doesn't just bite, it drains the very core of your heat. In this environment, biology should fail, yet the snow leopard has mastered it. It possesses an enlarged nasal cavity that acts as a natural furnace, warming the freezing air before it ever touches the lungs. Its blood is thick with hemoglobin, optimized to grab every stray molecule of oxygen from the thin mountain air. While we gasp for breath, the ghost of the peaks is in its element. It doesn't just survive here, it reigns. It wasn't until the arrival of high-speed, long-range camera technology that the ghost was finally caught on film. The footage was startling. It revealed a creature with paws the size of dinner plates, natural snowshoes that allow it to sprint across soft powder while its prey founders and sinks. It showed a tail, nearly 3 feet long and thick with fat and fur, used not just for balance during 50-foot leaps, but as a blanket, a portable survival kit wrapped around the face to filter the freezing winds during sleep. The myth had finally been demystified. But as the cameras kept rolling, we realized that the spirit of the mountains possessed a set of physical superpowers that made it the most specialized predator on our planet. Our journey into the silence has only just begun. To the untrained eye, the snow leopard's proportions look almost comical. Its paws are enormous, seemingly too large for its lean frame. But in the high-altitude deserts of the Himalayas, this is a masterstroke of evolution. These paws act as natural snowshoes. While a wolf or a mountain lion would sink belly deep into the soft powder of a fresh drift, the snow leopard's weight is distributed across a massive surface area. It can glide across the surface of the snow, moving with a terrifying silence. The hair between its toes doesn't just provide warmth, it acts as a built-in muffler, dampening the sound of its footfalls against the jagged scree. It is a predator that makes no sound because it creates no impact. Then there is the tail. Measuring nearly a meter long, it is thick, heavy, and seemingly cumbersome. But look at it in motion. When the leopard leaps across a 15-meter chasm, that tail acts as a biological gyroscope. It shifts and rotates mid-air, allowing the cat to adjust its center of gravity in a split second. But the tail's most critical function happens at night. At 5,000 meters, the temperature can drop so low that the very air becomes a weapon. When the leopard curls up to sleep, it wraps this thick, fur-lined muffler around its nose and mouth. This creates a microclimate, pre-warming the freezing air before it enters the respiratory system. It is a self-contained life support system grown from its own bone and fur. Perhaps the most mythic quality of the snow leopard is its coat. It is not just fur, it is a masterpiece of camouflage. The rosettes are not solid like a leopard's or striped like a tiger's. They are blurred, irregular shapes that mimic the shadows cast by the jagged limestone and granite of the peaks. In the harsh, high-contrast light of the high altitude, the leopard doesn't hide behind rocks. It becomes one. Scientists have stood less than 10 meters away from a resting cat and never saw it until it moved. This is why the local tribes believe they could walk through walls. When a snow leopard stands still, it simply ceases to exist in our visual field. Beneath the fur lies a respiratory engine that defies human capability. Its chest is exceptionally broad, housing a massive heart and lungs that are 40% larger than those of a similarly sized cat at sea level. Most big cats are built for short, explosive sprints, but the snow leopard is a marathon runner of the vertical. It can maintain a high-speed chase across a 45-degree incline in air that would leave a professional athlete gasping for life. It has mastered the physics of the death zone by becoming a creature that requires less to do more. A hunt in the high Himalayas does not begin with a sprint. It begins with a vigil. A snow leopard may sit motionless for 12, sometimes 18 hours, blended so perfectly into a ridge that the ibex grazing just 50 meters away have no idea they are being watched by a shadow. Time moves differently here. In the thin air, energy is more valuable than gold. To move is to risk exhaustion, so the ghost waits. It waits for the precise moment when gravity is on its side. It doesn't hunt across the mountain, it hunts down it. When the strike finally comes, it is a sudden, violent break in the silence. The leopard doesn't run toward its prey. It launches. It uses its massive hind legs to clear gaps of 15 meters in a single bound, descending from the cliffs like a falling stone. This is where the myth of the spirit becomes a terrifying reality of physics. The snow leopard doesn't fear the edge. While every other creature on the mountain treats a cliff as a boundary, the leopard treats it as a highway. It is the only predator on Earth that weaponizes the vertical drop. If you were to watch a snow leopard hunt in real time, it would look like a disaster. They often grapple with their prey, the bharal or the blue sheep, and tumble hundreds of feet down near vertical slopes of jagged granite. They fall through the air, bouncing off ledges, spinning in a chaotic blur of fur and horn. To a human observer, it looks like certain death, but look closer. Even in mid-fall, the leopard's tail is working, acting as a rudder to keep its body positioned. Its skeletal structure is incredibly flexible, absorbing shocks that would shatter the bones of any other animal. They have turned the most dangerous force in the mountains, gravity, into their most loyal ally. When the tumble finally stops at the bottom of the ravine, the leopard is almost always the one standing. It doesn't celebrate. There is no roar. Snow leopards cannot roar. Their vocal cords lack the specialized tissue. Instead, there is only the sound of heavy, rhythmic breathing in the cold air. A single kill here must last for weeks. In the winter, a leopard may go 15 days between meals, guarding its prize in the deep crevices of the rock. The ghost returns to the silence, disappearing back into the stones as if it were never there at all. The mountain is empty again. The myth remains. For thousands of years, the snow leopard was a creature of rumor. But in the 1970s and 80s, a new kind of explorer arrived in the Himalayas. They didn't carry bows or spears. They carried long-range lenses and motion-activated sensors. The demystification of the spirit began with the camera trap. By setting up infrared eyes in the most remote passes on Earth, we began to see the leopard when it thought no one was watching. We saw mothers playing with cubs in the moonlight. We saw males marking territory on cliffs that seemed impossible to climb. The ghost was finally given a face, and for the first time, we could count them. Today, the search has gone even further. Scientists now use satellite telemetry to track the ghost. By fitting a cat with a GPS collar, we can follow its digital shadow across borders, through war zones, and over mountain ranges that no human could traverse. What we found was startling. A single snow leopard requires an immense territory, sometimes up to 1,000 square kilometers. They are the umbrella species of the high altitude. By protecting the leopard, we are forced to protect the entire ecosystem, the water sources that feed over 1 billion people in the valleys below, and the vast silent grasslands that regulate the climate of an entire continent. But the ghost is fading. There are estimated to be fewer than 7,000 snow leopards left in the wild. Their greatest enemy isn't the cold or the thin air, it's the shrinking of their world. As the climate warms, the tree line moves higher, squeezing the leopard into smaller and smaller islands of frost. The myth of the Shan was that it was an eternal spirit. But science has shown us that it is a fragile masterpiece of evolution. We are the first generation to truly see the ghost of the mountains, and we may be the last to ensure it doesn't return to being nothing more than a legend. The mountains are still silent. The rocks still hold their secrets. But now, when you look at a jagged Himalayan ridge, you know that something might be looking back. Something that survived the impossible by becoming a part of the mountain itself. The ghost is real, and it is waiting. I'm Johnny from Wild Fact Lab, and this has been the story of the ghost of the frozen peaks. If you found this journey into the death zone fascinating, join our next expedition by subscribing below.